Getting caught up in heavy rain is not a joke. Now, one of the first things you need to do is be prepared, because this is the rainy season. Carry with you a small handbag size umbrella, the type that you can easily fit into a bag, or if you're a gentleman, you can put it into your office bag without any problem. This kind of umbrella is the best because there's no need to keep on buying umbrellas in town, and then you find that your house has a stack of some low quality umbrellas that can't work well. Another thing you need is to have a shower cap and a scarf or a hat that you can use to cover your hair, just in case you get caught up in the rain and maybe you've just had your hair styled. Hair is such a challenge when it rains to many women, and it makes them lose confidence, especially when they arrive at their destination looking like a drenched chicken. Have a comb so that as soon as you get to your office or wherever you're going, you're able to comb out your hair and have it looking presentable, having yourself looking neat. It is a good idea to invest in a large handkerchief that you can use to wipe yourself in case you are dripping with rain. Also, clean your shoes because they're most likely to be full of sludge and mud, and this happens all the time. It's not good to arrive at your destination with muddy shoes. Also, don't forget a raincoat. A raincoat is one of the best investments that you can make that will protect you from the rain, and some of them are also quite stylish. Even as we thank God for the rain and we're grateful, it is good to take self-care when you're caught out in a thunderstorm. This has been Self-Care Tips, and it's good night from me, Irene Joroge.
Kupata lazima nishike kama sikiza tune yako. Bonyeza *811 *962 hash.
Lazima nishike mapema. Nisiposhika simu mapema utakasirika. Unajua mimi nikiwa mtu ya marathon, najua niko na experience kabisa. Niko na experience. If you don't hurry, you will not break the record. Okay, wacha nishike simu.
Kupata lazima nishike, bonyeza *811 *962 hash. *811 *962 hash.
Boresha maisha na bima. Maisha hayatabiriki, huenda kukawa na panda shuka. Iwapo utashindwa kulipia bima yako malipo ya kila mwezi, usiwe na wasiwasi. Zungumza na kampuni inayokupa huduma za bima ili ubadilishe bima yako kuwa bima iliyolipiwa tayari. Hutahitajika kuendelea kulipa malipo ya kila mwezi, japo kampuni inayokupa huduma za bima bado itawajibika kukulipa faida unayostahili katika chaguo hili. Pata bima ili kuhakikisha yote yatakuwa sawa.
Happy new month and happy Madaraka Day wherever you're catching this bulletin from. We really do appreciate you for choosing KBC Channel 1 to inform you on the latest in Kenya and beyond borders. We got details about how President Uhuru Kenyatta led the country in marking the 59th Madaraka Day celebrations that saw pomp and color and dignitaries from different spheres of life gathering at the new look Uhuru Gardens to celebrate 59 years since the country attained internal self-rule. We'll be giving you details about those celebrations plus more that we got contained in our comprehensive news bulletin that begins right now with the top stories. Celebrating 59 years of self-rule, President Uhuru Kenyatta outlines his legacy as he leads the nation in celebrations, his last in office. Rewarding excellence, outstanding public officers feted in national celebrations. Cracking the whip, Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria, among aspirants EACC once barred from contesting in August polls over integrity issues. Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Lucy Mwaura. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma. Now, on to our top story. President Uhuru Kenyatta used his last Madaraka Day celebrations as head of state to outline his legacy over the last 2 terms in office. President Kenyatta defended the deployment of the Kenya Defence Forces in the management of selected public institutions, as well as the record of his administration in borrowing. The head of state, however, asked the incoming regime to be keen on rooting out corruption and divisive politics. John Jacob Kiria begins our bulletin with that report.
The 59th Madaraka Day celebrations at the historic Uhuru Gardens. President Uhuru Kenyatta leading the nation in the occasion that marks the achievement of Kenya's self-internal rule. It was the first time in the reign of a Jubilee administration that Deputy President William Ruto did not address the nation. President Kenyatta and his Sierra Leone counterpart Julius Maada Bio, who was a chief guest, were the only speakers. President Kenyatta said his administration has spent heavily on infrastructure as a way of laying the foundation for the economic prosperity of a nation.
The naysayers have said that we should not invest so heavily in infrastructure because people do not eat roads, they do not eat bridges. I have refused their pessimism because I know what a new road means to a farmer who has for decades been unable to get their produce quickly to the market. I refuse to delay the dream of world-class ports and fishing support infrastructure because we wanted our fishermen in our oceans and lakes to be able to gain more from their sweat of their brow.
On national security, the head of state says high-value investments on equipment, training and intelligence gathering has yielded fruits.
With the mandate that was given to me, we silenced the wave of terror attacks that had a stranglehold on our nation. And we achieved this by retooling our security organs and making them more capable to address the dynamic contemporary security challenges that Kenya faces.
With Kenya now an non-permanent member of a United Nations Security Council, President Kenyatta says Kenya's position in the community of nations has been cemented.
On the regional front, Kenya led the push to admit the Democratic Republic of Congo into the East African community. With this singular move, the East African Common Market grew by 90 million people, yielding a now expanded market of 300 million citizens and a consequent enhanced opportunities for our Kenyan enterprises.
The head of state defending the competence-based curriculum against its critiques, claiming the 844 system had proved unresponsive to the needs of learners.
And that is why in December of 2022, the pioneer CBC class, now in 6th grade, will transition to junior secondary. And we believe, and given the manifest success achieved in such a short period of time, there is no turning back with respect to competency-based curriculum.
Through the appointment of 11 women to his cabinet from 2013 and other appointments made by the Public Service and Judicial Service Commissions, President Kenyatta called on Kenyans to continue supporting the cause of gender inclusivity.
In August of this year, if it is the wish of the Kenyan electorate, we have a chance of electing a woman and shattering the glass ceiling by assuming the second highest office in the Republic of Kenya.
The head of state also dismissed his critics, who have accused him of militarizing public affairs and overborrowing.
We turn to our disciplined forces and we summon them to the cause of nation building. And the record must reflect that they have not disappointed us. The only time debt is a burden to a nation is if a nation is led by looters. But in the hands of a visionary administration, debt is a catalyst for rapid development.
John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Now, still staying with the Madaraka Day celebrations, civil servants, medical practitioners, military officers and teachers were among citizens feted by President Uhuru Kenyatta in this year's Madaraka Day celebrations in recognition of distinguished and outstanding services to Kenyans and the country. Zainab Said now reports.
10 Kenyans were today presented with national awards and honors by President Uhuru Kenyatta at Uhuru Gardens for their distinction services to the country.
He created a strong delivery.
Former Chief of Staff at State House and Head of Presidential Delivery Unit Nzioka Waita was conferred the Moran of the Order of the Golden Heart for his outstanding services to the nation. The same award was conferred upon Paul Ndungu, the current chair of the 26,000-member St. John's Ambulance Organization.
Brigadier Moran is the team leader for Project 58 uwanja tuko hapa siku ya leo.
Brigadier Joseph Maina was bestowed the Moran of the Order of the Golden Heart for leading construction and completion of Project 58. Brigadier Caroline Mutiso received the Elder of the Order of the Burning Spear, under whose leadership Kenya for the first time secured a strategic resource database by the government.
Professor Kiprop has been the program manager Guinea Worm Eradication Program.
For his instrumental role in the elimination of malaria in the country, Professor David Sang was awarded Moran of the Order of the Burning Spear. Dr. Hisa Weston Wakasiaka and Polycarp Otieno Onyango, Senior Director Presidential Delivery Unit at the Coast, received the Moran of the Order of the Burning Spear for the formulation of the fistula policy development and streamlining activities at the Kenya Ports Authority, respectively. The Order of the Grand Warrior was represented to Alice Kwamboka Nyariki, Senior Deputy Director of Pensions at the National Social Security Fund, Major Hussein Athman Weshenga, who oversaw the construction of MV Uhuru 2 at Kisumu and Shupavu at Mombasa Shipyard, and Jendu Tamwangi for contribution in realization of accessible and quality education while at the COVID-19 Education Committee and the CBC Task Force. For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
And congratulations to all those who stood out in their service to the nation. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has been hailed for reforms in various sectors of the economy over the last 10 years. A cross-section of leaders and Kenyans who attended the national festivities to mark Madaraka Day at Uhuru Gardens in Nairobi say they will remember him for expanding infrastructure, war on graft and reforms in the education sector, among other achievements.
Wednesday at Uhuru Gardens in Nairobi County, leaders and ordinary Kenyans converged to celebrate Madaraka Day, all lauding President Uhuru Kenyatta for key achievements in his 10 years in office.
They've been very big on infrastructure. You can see it has transformed the landscape. So many things. But if I was to pick a single thing, that's the one I would pick.
He's done more roads than before, electricity connections. All of that has been good, and those have been big projects. The only disconnect then that Kenyans might have is the issue of actual money in people's pockets. The cost of living has gone up.
He leaves a unified nation, and I'm happy because that what he has talked about, it should be a baton that should be taken by someone who has the passion to really continue with the work that he has already started.
Yeye mwenyewe ameweza kutuelezea exactly ile kitu amefanya kutoka 2013 mpaka wakati huu. na ile kazi ambayo amefanya si wengi mwae kufanya hata.
Reforms in the education sector and deliberate efforts to empower women were mentioned as some of the milestones of the Jubilee administration.
Na sasa mara nyingi wanasema tu ile hatuoni, lakini Mheshimiwa Rais amesema maono yake, na kwa kweli ukienda kwa ground unaona vitu amesema ni ukweli.
The track record yenye ametusomea hakika hayeso fananisho na rais yetu ambaye wale ambao wamekuwa tuchague wale viongozi wenye si corrupt. Amesema wanawake wanaweza.
Nimefurahia vile ameongea kuhusu uongozi wa wamama. Ndio, nafurahia sana, speech yake ilikuwa mzuri.
Some saying they will remember President Kenyatta for his efforts to foster national unity, especially through the 2018 handshake. They also expressed desire for a peaceful transition come August 9th.
Zile vitu zimesomwa zote tunaziona, mabarabara nini, education, mambo iko sawa. Tunazidi tu kuomba wa Kenya after election tubaki tu tukiwa na umoja.
Serikali ambayo inakuja 2022, sasa ningependa tu waweke peace na upande wa infrastructure waweze kuendelea.
Na ametuachia uchumbe wa kuchagua viongozi wenye si wafisadi, viongozi wenye wataunganisha wa Kenya wote.
Kisha ningetaka kuwaomba wale ambao watakuja kuchukua uongozi wa nchi hii sana sana waangazie mambo ya corruption. Na tafadhali msi abolish CBC.
As the country gears up for a change in leadership after the August 9th general election, Kenyans are hopeful that the next set of leadership will have their plight at heart and focus on continuing with President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. Nancy Okware, reporting for Prime Edition from Uhuru Gardens, Nairobi.
Thank you, Nancy. And now on to another exciting part about the 59th Madaraka Day celebrations, which was one for the memories, hosted at the new look Uhuru Gardens and packed with unique entertainment from the Kenya Defence Forces. As Kamchemenza reports, thousands of Kenyans, both young and old, who thronged the venue from early morning were in for a treat, including performances from dancers, actors, and local music artists.
From patriotic songs to traditional dances, the historic Uhuru Gardens once again played host to a national celebration, the 59th Madaraka Day. Thousands of Kenyans from all walks of life trooped to the venue and settled in. Dancing to the tunes as music serenaded the air.
Nimevaa hivi kwa sababu ya Madaraka Day.
Nicheze dance kabisa nikipeana mambo yangu ya bambu. Unajua sasa bambu ilikuwa cash crop. Na Septemba 16 bambu itakuwa imeadhimisha 1 year.
Bustani hii ndio mwanzo ya wale wasilishi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya wakati tulipata jamhuri.
Bila nimefurahi bendera ya Kenya, najifunia mimi ni Mkenya. Na siku yangu ni leo mpaka lazima nijifunie.
Kenyan flag colors reflected in the seating arrangement for pupils from various schools. The arrival of the head of state's entourage from State House and the ceremonial lap of honor eliciting excitement. Another highlight of the festivities was the short air show by the Kenya Air Force. And local performances from Kenyan artists. A display reminiscent of celebrations Kenya attained 50 years of independence. The 59th Madaraka Day saw a set of entertainment of its kind as Kenyans who thronged the venue say the colorful event will remain a memorable one. Kamchemenza for Prime Edition at Uhuru Gardens, Nairobi.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has hailed his cabinet secretaries for a job well done during his tenure. Speaking this morning at State House when he hosted his cabinet, President Kenyatta thanked it for making his legacy come true. The cabinet secretaries, on their part, thanked the president for believing and trusting in them to deliver his Big Four agenda and wished him well as his term in office comes to an end.
Tangu mwaka wa
It's been a fantastic experience. First of all, I thank the Lord for the opportunity to serve my country, and I thank His Excellency the President for the trust he bestowed and the opportunity he gave me to serve as his minister. The last 10 years have been very exciting, working in the public service and serving the country. Very challenging, and we come to the end of this term much more knowledgeable of the country, and we understand our nation better than we did when we came in.
It's been the best delivery time for me from 2013 when I was the Minister for Foreign Affairs, where I was given all the support, all the facilitation that I needed to be able to put policies in place, to be able to guide the ministry from where it was at to where I left it.
Previously, it was not possible to have a title to an apartment. Now we can have a title to an apartment. So these are some of the laws we've done. We've done many laws to make sure that what we are doing is ingrained in the law. So these are some of the things that we did over the last 4.5 years or so, which we hope the next administration will continue.
Public servants have been the center. They have been the center in the sense that they are the one who develop policies, they implement them, and that's what has made the government of Uhuru Kenyatta realize such achievement.
All right, and we continue with our coverage of the 59th Madaraka Day celebrations. We appreciate you, Ashley Lavin. You're watching. Thank you. Mwana Pretty Kish, you say, I am in. Longinus O'Neill, thank you also. And Ongas Henry, you say, getting KBC well in Kaptebo, Nakuru County. We appreciate you. Keep interacting with us on social media at KBC Channel 1, at Serfine_Achieng on Twitter, Serfine Achieng on Facebook. Use the hashtag Prime Edition. We are taking a break. We are coming back with much more.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Narok County generates huge revenue from the world-famous Masai Mara National Reserve and the agricultural sector. Two candidates, Moitalel Olekenta and Patrick Olentutu, are gearing up for the next governor of this county. What is their agenda for Narok? Don't miss the Narok County gubernatorial debate this Thursday, 2nd of June from Masai Mara University, exclusively on KBC Channel 1 from 9:50 p.m.
Welcome back, and thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. On this second part, we take you to Mombasa County, where politicians in Mombasa have been urged to exercise political tolerance. The call was made by Mombasa County Police Commander Stephen Matu and Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho during celebrations to mark Madaraka Day. Michael Mondiga reports.
Celebrations to mark Madaraka Day in Mombasa County were held at the scenic Mamangina Waterfront Park. Mombasa County Police Commander Stephen Matu and Governor Hassan Ali Joho called on political maturity during the campaign period.
Hawa vijana wachache wanakataa kuweka amani. Polisi, idara za polisi zote, all security agencies within Mombasa, tuko tayari kupambana na wao. Na Your Excellency Governor, na kuhakikishia kwamba hii uchaguzi inakuja ya August, tumejipanga kama security agents, tutapea wananchi wa Mombasa security bila ubaguzi.
Tusikubali kugawanywa kidini na kikabila, hasusan wakati huu wa siasa. Tumekubaliana hayo. Mambo ya watu kuvunjiwa manyumba katika hii mji wetu wa Mombasa, pwani kwa jumla na kwengineo, itakuwa katika kaburi la sahau.
Na waomba wananchi tuwe na siasa ya amani, tuwe na siasa iliyo sawasawa na tusiwe na fujo wakati wa siasa, na pia nawatakia wale wapinzani ambao wanapigania viti mbalimbali vya kura, tufanye kura ya usalama safari hii.
Elsewhere in Kilifi County, there was confusion as two parallel Madaraka Day celebrations were held at different venues. County Commissioner Kuswa Olaka led festivities at the Karisa Maitha grounds, while Governor Amason Kingi led another celebration a kilometer away at the water grounds. Kingi later left his event in a half to join the county commissioner at Karisa Maitha grounds.
Sisi kama wananchi, sisi kama viongozi, hatujafurahishwa na hatua aliyochukua. Hatuwezi kuwa na sherehe mbili tunaweza kusherehekea Madaraka wakati ndani ya Kilifi sehemu mbili tofauti.
Inaonekana wazi ya kwamba hakukuwa na ushirikiano mzuri kati ya viongozi wetu wa serikali na wale wa siasa.
Michael Mondiga for Prime Edition, Mombasa County.
Now, similar calls for peace and national cohesion characterized Madaraka Day celebrations in the counties. Leaders called on the electorate to embrace peace during the electioneering period, warning politicians against polarizing citizens.
Leaders from across the political divide in Kajiado County set aside their differences to urge residents to promote peace during the electioneering period. Kajiado County Commissioner Wilson Wanyanga said the County Security Committee was ready to oversee peaceful elections, adding that there was no room for political intolerance.
Wakati huu ni wakati wa siasa. Tufanye siasa vile tu huwa tunafanya, na baada ya siasa tujue maisha itaendelea.
In an effort to bring a sense of belonging to our people, we have discarded the age-old indignity of changing children's real names. Many communities in our country living in peace and cohesion as they act out a living in an environment conducive for any enterprise to thrive.
In Mandera, County Commissioner Onesmus Kiatha, who presided over this year's 59th Madaraka Day celebrations, warned politicians propagating hate speech that the law will catch up with them. Sentiments echoed by Mandera Governor Ali Roba, who also called on residents to be wary of political rumor mongers.
Ati unatukana watu na kuongea mambo ingine, alafu ukiitwa na DCI uandike statement, unaanza kulia. Usilie. Hakuna mahali utaingia katika kaunti yetu, tutakutoa hapo tu.
In Garissa, locals gathered at the Garissa School playground to celebrate this year's Madaraka Day, with the County Commissioner Boaz Chirutich issuing a stern warning to political aspirants who are hiring goons to disrupt political gatherings of their opponents.
Tuliagiza hawa kwamba all sub-counties lazima wafanye ile mkutano ya peaceful elections ili waweze kumap ile areas ambaye iko hotspots, ili waweze kusaidiana na IEBC, ili waweze kusaidiana na idara ya polisi kuhakikisha kwamba kuanzia sasa mpaka tarehe 9 na baada ya tarehe 9 tumekuwako na amani.
And in Kiambu, County Commissioner Joseph Nkanatha said the security apparatus had been beefed up to ensure organized gangs are dealt with during this electioneering period. Nkanatha said the local security committee was mapping out hotspots in the county.
Na tunaomba ya kwamba tuwe na kampeni ambazo ni za amani. Sisi kama security committee na viongozi wetu wa kisiasa tumekubaliana ya kwamba tunataka sherehe hizi za mwaka huu siwe na utofauti kabisa na wakati wa mbeleni, wakati watu ni vita ni nini. Hatutaki vitu kama hiyo, na tuko macho.
In Murang'a, County Commissioner Karuku Ngumo has raised concerns over increased suicide and murder cases within the county in the recent past. During this year's Madaraka Day celebrations held at Ihora Stadium, the Commissioner observed that for the last 6 months, The county recorded 35 suicide and 32 murder cases.
It's my appeal to the religious community. It is my appeal to the leadership of the county, community leadership. It's my appeal that even within our groups, zile group tuko nazo, hata kama za kina mama, za vijana, za wazee, hata kama ni investment group, social groups, let us talk about this issue. Even our political leaders, even as you're looking for votes, please let's talk about this issue, because vile mnaona graph inaenda juu.
And West Pokot County Commissioner Apollo Okello has issued a shoot-to-kill order to bandits terrorizing the locals. Speaking during Madaraka Day celebrations at Makutano Stadium, the administrator said the security team in the area has resolved to deal decisively with criminals. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Prime Edition.
Now, also part of the stories we are tracking for you, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission now wants let me take you through that again. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission now wants Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria barred from vying for presidential. All right, let me just take you through that story again. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission now wants 241 aspirants, who include Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria, barred from vying for presidency on grounds of lack of integrity. The EACC has written to the Electoral Agency, IEBC, accusing Governor wa Iria of obstructing investigators and destroying evidence during a probe on corruption in Murang'a County. The Anti-graft agency has also raised integrity issues on 61 aspirants vying for gubernatorial positions, including Kirinyaga's Anne Waiguru, former governors Mike Sonko and Evans Kidero. It's a story we are following up for you. We'll be bringing it your way soon. Now let's move on. Deputy President William Ruto says the August 9th general election is about the economy and how to fix it. Ruto was speaking in Thirime Primary School in Kikuyu, Kiambu County, after watching a football match. The Deputy President, who is also the United Democratic Alliance presidential flag bearer, was accompanied by allies Musalia Mudavadi of Amani National Congress and Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya, who pledged to regulate taxes on sports equipment if UDA forms the next government.
This election is about one thing. It is about the economy. Everything else is a sideshow, and everything else is a distraction. This election is about the economy and the people who know what to do about the economy. Our competitors have no track record on anything to do with the economy. They are just politicians. Nye mnanielewa?
Serikali ya hasla pia itaangalia ile mambo ya taxation kwa wale sports people, ili turekebishe wapate nafasi ya kujiokoa na kuwa na resources za kutosha baada ya michezo yao.
Now, when he was re-elected for a second term in 2018, President Uhuru Kenyatta had a clear vision to further his Big Four agenda of food security, affordable housing, manufacturing, and affordable healthcare. This vision would, however, be threatened by the political tension in the country occasioned by the 2017 disputed elections. And as he led the country in celebrating his last Madaraka Day while serving as president, we take a look at how the head of state in his second term in office sustained his vision to leave behind a united country. 10 years after the 2007 post-election violence, in 2017, the country was once again treated to an election dispute, pitting the main contenders, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, against each other. A dispute that ended in the nullification of the presidential election by the Supreme Court and a fresh election ordered. But Raila Odinga would still withdraw from the rerun held by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Hence, the outcome went in favor of Uhuru Kenyatta who was declared the winner in October 2017 after he garnered 98% of the vote.
Hereby declare Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Mr. William Samoei Ruto as President-elect and Deputy President-elect, respectively.
Uhuru Kenyatta's second term as president, however, had a rocky start due to the preceding period of unrest and political tension in the country. This is what birthed the famous handshake between the head of state and Raila Odinga, a political truce on 9th of March 2018 at the steps of Harambee House that sought to resuscitate a country that was on the verge of collapse.
Tafadhali tumpigie rais makofi moja mbili tatu.
During the 2018 Madaraka Day celebrations, the head of state used the platform to shun destructive political competition, which he said was divisive and only served to delay the dreams of the founding fathers.
These problems are even older than the Republic. They are certainly not our fault. But if disunity itself is not of our doing, it is certainly our problem to solve.
The president would sustain his message of building a united and cohesive society in 2019 when he led the national Madaraka Day celebrations in Narok County. In 2020, for the first time, the celebrations were held at State House, Nairobi, as part of efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19. At the time, the clamour to change the 2010 constitution had gathered pace, premised on the Building Bridges initiative. President Uhuru Kenyatta would, in his 57th Madaraka Day speech, reference Tom Mboya's book Freedom and After to amplify calls to re-engineer the country's constitutional reforms.
50 years ago, Mboya warned Kenyans against constitutional rigidity. As I have already mentioned, he told us that a constitution is not an end in itself. It is a means to a greater end.
The entire process of changing the constitution was, however, nullified on May 13, 2021 by a 5-judge bench of the High Court, who termed it an illegality. The president would later visit Kisumu County for the 58th Madaraka Day celebrations. In his speech, the head of state would make an apparent reference to the High Court ruling on the BBI bill, accusing the judiciary of failing to shoulder what he called the burden of choices in some of its far-reaching decisions.
From the nullification of a presidential election in 2017 to an attempt to stop the will of the people as expressed through the BBI, the judiciary has indeed tested our constitutional limits. While I stand by the rule of law, and I will always obey the decisions of the courts, I am also compelled by my position to heed the sovereign and supreme voice of the people of Kenya. And that is why our national conversation today must focus on the consequences of choice.
And as he led the national celebrations of the 59th Madaraka Day at Uhuru Gardens in Nairobi, the head of state defended his legacy, describing how his administration had built on the strong foundation of the founding fathers. The president noting that he has achieved more in his second term, courtesy of the political stability occasioned by the March 9th, 2018 handshake.
During our first term, we built slightly over 3,000 kilometers of tarmac road. But the second term, we have completed close to 8,000 kilometers and over 6,600 kilometers of tarmac road are currently ongoing. And all of this, I strongly believe, has happened because of the political stability that we achieved because of the handshake.
The president finalizing his speech by challenging successive administrations to foster a nation of unity and for Kenyans to choose peace in the upcoming general election. Now, still digging deeper into President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy, he will be credited for scrapping examination fees for students sitting their national exams, which gave a lease of life to thousands of poor students who would otherwise have been locked out from realizing their dreams. The president, too, will be leaving office after having brought to an end Moi's dream of the 844 system of education, replacing it with a new competency-based curriculum. John Jacob Kuria takes a look at President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy in education and politics, whose hallmark is the 2018 handshake with his former ACT rival, Raila Odinga.
In 2015, the Jubilee administration took a decision to scrap examination fees for all students sitting the national examinations in what President Kenyatta said was extending the fundamental promise of opportunity for all. Previously, thousands of poor students were disenfranchised from sitting the examinations after failing to raise the examination fees. Even those lucky to have sat the examinations, their results would be withheld by respective schools until clearing their fee arrears.
And consequently, with effect from next year, the government will extend the exam fee waiver for private school students for their KCPE and KCSE exams.
President Kenyatta argued that it was foolhardy to expect to raise education standards in the country, while a section of learners was being left out by denying them the right to sit the examinations after years of labor.
The government continues to allocate sufficient resources to the management of public schools in Kenya. The allocation for free-day secondary funding in the financial year 2016-2017 is Kenya shillings 29 billion.
But President Kenyatta's biggest legacy in the education sector, beyond the connection of public schools with electricity and increasing the education sector capitation, was the curriculum reforms he introduced in his second term. With the 844 system declared defective, President Kenyatta has been at the forefront of pushing for curriculum reforms through the competence-based curriculum, CBC, expected to empower learners wholesomely.
That to be architects of our destiny, we must plan for it. Given that the challenges of our times calls us to respond using our education system, we can only succeed through designing and implementing a fit-for-purpose education system.
And while the implementation of a new curriculum has faced some headwinds, which include resistance from a section of education stakeholders, confusion over the placement of junior secondary schools and the capacity of schools, the construction of about 10,000 classrooms is on course, with President Kenyatta having directed Treasury to make available 8.1 billion shillings to go towards the same cause.
To rationalize all programs and courses offered in our universities, to ensure that they are adequately prepared for the admission of the first competency-based curriculum cohort in the year 2029, and 8, to work with all stakeholders in the sector and government ministries to ensure that the competency-based curriculum reforms are smooth and systematically rolled out at all levels of education.
CBC is not examination oriented. You are creating a holistic child, each of whom is important, including your own.
Following the contested 2017 general election, President Uhuru Kenyatta reached out to Raila Odinga, and after months of talks, the two emerged from Harambee House to shake hands in what is now famously called the handshake.
We have had the opportunity for extensive discussions on matters Kenya, and we have come to a common understanding, an understanding that this country of Kenya is greater than any one individual.
The two decided to bury the hatchet, and tried to craft a new political direction for Kenya in what they said was to keep the country safe for future generations.
The time has come for us to confront and resolve our differences. These differences are becoming too entrenched. No two Kenyans agree on the origins of the differences and what they portend. Millions of our children continue to be born and married into these differences.
Elections come and go, but Kenya remains. So as we plan ourselves for the future, our future cannot be dictated by the forthcoming election. Our future must be dictated by the prosperity, stability of our nation and the well-being of our people.
Through a 9-point agenda that birthed the Building Bridges initiative, President Kenyatta and Raila made an attempt to amend some sections of a constitution they both argued were inhibitive or non-responsive to a new day Kenya. The Building Bridges initiative task force went round the country, conducting public hearings that resulted in various constitutional and policy proposals through the famous BBI bill. The bill has since been impugned by the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. President Kenyatta and Raila have received international recognition for the selfless act of a handshake, despite their acrimony in the elections that threatened to divide the country. But the working relations with Raila dealt a blow to the unity that had characterized the president and his deputy William Ruto, and even the ruling Jubilee Party. In the end, the president severed ties with the deputy and endorsed Raila Odinga as his successor in the August 9th general election.
Wameamua ya kwamba njia ya kutembea kwa Kenya mpya ni tutembee pamoja.
John Jacob Kuria, Channel 1.
Now, on to other matters. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission now wants 241 aspirants, who include Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria, barred from vying for presidency on grounds of lack of integrity. The EACC has written to the Electoral Agency, IEBC, accusing Governor wa Iria of obstructing investigators and destroying evidence during a probe on corruption in Murang'a County. The Anti-graft agency has also raised integrity issues on 61 aspirants vying for gubernatorial positions, including Kirinyaga's Anne Waiguru, former governors Mike Sonko and Evans Kidero.
With 68 days to the general elections, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has written to IEBC, raising integrity issues on 3 presidential aspirants and 61 gubernatorial aspirants, among others. The Anti-graft agency wants Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria barred from vying for presidency on grounds of obstructing EACC investigators and destruction of evidence when executing a search warrant. Former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero, now vying for Homa Bay gubernatorial seat on an independent ticket, is also on the spot for allegations of impropriety, corruption and economic crime while serving as Governor Nairobi City County. His successor Mike Sonko, now vying for Mombasa gubernatorial seat, is viewed unsuitable by EACC after being impeached by the Nairobi County Assembly and the Senate. Other former governors that EACC want barred from the ballot include Nadhif Jama of Garissa, Godana Doyo of Isiolo, and Daniel Waithaka of Nyandarua County. Governor Anne Waiguru of Kirinyaga, Muthomi Njoki of Tharaka Nithi, and Fahim Twaha of Lamu have also been blacklisted by the Anti-graft agency on grounds of corruption. The EACC has also raised integrity issues regarding 83 aspirants seeking various positions in parliament. Yesho Kiwashira, Prime Edition.
Now, on to the COVID-19 situation in the country. Kenya's COVID-19 positivity rate has dropped to 3.6% from Tuesday's 4.4%, following the confirmation of 94 new infections in the last 24 hours. The total confirmed positive cases now stand at 325,070. Now, according to statistics from the Ministry of Health, no death was reported today, with accumulating fatalities remaining at 5,651. Data from the Johns Hopkins University COVID Resource Center shows that over 530 million COVID-19 infections have been confirmed globally, with over 6.2 million deaths being reported since the pandemic struck. Moving on, 3 people have died in Manyani, Nakuru East, after a fire gutted down their house. The deceased include a mother and her 2 daughters. This and other stories in the County News Roundup.
According to Nakuru East Deputy Sub-County Police Commander Wilson Duarte, all the victims were found in their bedrooms. He said that the cause of the fire was not immediately established, as some residents alleged that it might have been an electrical fault or foul play. The middle-aged woman who is single has left behind her only son, Kenan Muchewe, aged 19.
Kuja moto ilikuwa mingi. Moto ilikuwa mwaka mingi. Hapo ndio uwezetu tukaweza kuvunja tukiwa na huyu na wengine.
Muchemi, who recently completed high school, was lucky to escape the inferno as he was not living with his parents.
Na huyu mama tunajua kama mama cheupe. Hainanga mambo mingi, hata watoto wake wote ninajua. Ako kijana mmoja ndio huyu sasa ni survivor, ndiye amebaki na watoto wawili.
Elsewhere, police in Makongeni in Thika have netted ban worth 2.5 million shillings from a parked public service vehicle. The narcotics were nabbed following a tip-off from the members of the public. Kiambu County Police Commander Paminas Mushagi said that the police are in pursuit of the suspects who fled the scene.
We are going to trace the owner through the NTSA, and also we shall compel him to produce and drive away with this vehicle. And also the owner of the farm, we are also going for him.
In Makueni, Kikima coffee farmers have something to smile after resumption of the processing of the commodity. The farmers decried of interference from Kikima Farmers Committee before the county governor, Professor Kivutha Kibwana, and area MCA Alexander Musimba intervened.
To report that as a government, we are going to follow and ensure that all the illegalities that have been facing the society and the factories are cleaned.
Wakulima wanzaini tulikuwa sisi tumekaukiwa na kila kitu. Tunaona factory yetu hatutafuna kawa, lakini sasa tunashukuru sana au.
Meanwhile, Kenyans have been called upon to embrace good nutrition for their children and themselves to avoid the rising cases of stunting in the country. The call was made during the launch of this year's Malezi Bora Nutrition at Githunguri Level 4 Hospital in Kiambu County.
A last survey that was done, it showed that 9.2% of the school-going children are deficient of vitamin A. By the time the programs were starting for vitamin A, 75% of the Kenyan children had vitamin A deficiency. So it has come down over time.
Elsewhere, over 200 families living in Narasha village, Naivasha, held demonstrations to protest alleged plans to evict them from their ancestral land after some government officials toured the area.
Wezi hama. Hii ni nchi ambayo tulisaliwa nayo na Mungu alitubariki, na tunataka kuambia hata kama kampuni ya Kengen ikiwa pamoja na serikali ya kaunti ya Nakuru ya kwamba wawache kutusumbua sisi kwa hili shamba letu.
The over 30 years Naivasha land grab between Maasai community and Kenya Geothermal Generating Company Kengen is said to have been sold to Kengen for the production of geothermal power with funding from the World Bank. Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
Furahia maisha.
Boresha maisha na bima. Maisha hayatabiriki, huenda kukawa na panda shuka. Iwapo utashindwa kulipia bima yako malipo ya kila mwezi, usiwe na wasiwasi. Zungumza na kampuni inayokupa huduma za bima ili ubadilishe bima yako kuwa bima iliyolipiwa tayari. Hutahitajika kuendelea kulipa malipo ya kila mwezi, japo kampuni inayokupa huduma za bima bado itawajibika kukulipa faida unayostahili katika chaguo hili. Pata bima ili kuhakikisha yote yatakuwa sawa.
Mama, don't you cry. Big man, dry your eyes. What's wrong? What's wrong? Every day we got go fight. I think it's best that you forgive me. Yeah, this is for my sisters. Hold your head high, still got priceless energy.
Nataka ukumbuke mimi ni mamako, nakupenda na nakujali.
Hivi vitu vimeletwa hapa na Kate, na mimi nikamrudisha navyo.
Nikwambia mara ngapi kwamba mimi si mtoto mdogo tena.
Stay away from my son.
Wewe ulisema utaki mambo ya na familia yake.
Kusema la kweli, hapo ulipita mpaka hukufanya vizuri.
You mean nikienda hiyo sherehe utarudi hapa nyumbani?
Thank you so much for staying with us and welcome back. On to this other part, we focus on our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre. And local films makers have stepped up their diversification of content dissemination by embracing the use of vernacular language to effectively reach the target audience. Tonight, Jacqueline Masharia reviews a Luo film, Tipo, in our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre.
Cinemas and Theatre. Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
To Uganda.
Tipo is a story of entanglement, love triangle and family drama which begins with Rispa, played by Caroline Midimo, who lives to fend for her children. Reacting to her own life of lack, she vows to ensure her children get the best of life through education. This informs her struggle journey as Richard, her estranged husband, moves on with his life in Newtown, marrying Pamela.
Shut up.
The script was easy to read, but emotions involved were very hard to tackle. Pamela came in as a educated, desperate young lady, yes, who found a loophole and tap, she fixed herself. I loved telling the story.
The production of the film Tipo started in 2021 during the coronavirus pandemic.
Actually, I was shooting a film in the Luo language, yet I come from another vernacular language. Actually, at the end of it all, now I know the Luo in one way or the other.
Despite it being done in Luo, and that's why we have now the English subtitles, because it's me, you, and the next person watching, everyone connects to this Tipo film.
From the theme of love and hate, deception and truth, Tipo brings together superstars to create a one-of-its-kind film in the Luo.
We are killing the tribalism. We are not killing our ethnic backgrounds. It's the tribalistic that is bad. But the ethnic, this is what makes Kenya unique. Nigerians started with their own Igbos and Yoruba languages It is now that they still do it, just that they've upgraded because of the international platform to do English. But majority of them are done in their languages. It is time to be us. This is who we are.
Film industry in Kenya has really developed. It's good now that as a film industry in Kenya, tunaweza ingiza film hadi Netflix. So you see, we have, of which initially hata kupata platform maybe in an industry, East African maybe market ilikuwa like, whenever you see something erupt from East African market, you are like, who are these? It was something like a mileage.
The first launch is coming up this Friday, 3rd of June at the Nairobi Cinema. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss the experience.
16 good years. Canada. Okay.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and the Theatre.
Cinemas and Theatre. Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
Jacqueline Masharia for great reporting there on Cinemas and Theatre. And now I want to hand you over to Richard Munga for the latest in the world of sports, which also includes a Madaraka Day special for the sports fans.
And of course, once again, of course, my name is Richard Mungo, the Day's Sports. And in regards to the story that Serfine is talking about, that story is a top story today whereby Gor Mahia humbled perennial rivals FC Leopards 6-5 on post-match penalties to win the Madaraka Day Cup in a closely contested encounter that was played at the Nyayo National Stadium. The encounter between the two arch rivals ended 1-1 in regular time. The match was played just over 3 weeks after Kogalo and Ingwe met on May 8th at Kasarani in a Football Kenya Federation Premier League match that also ended in a 1-1 stalemate. It was the 95th meeting between the two sides, AFC Leopards having not beaten Kogalo in the last 6 years. Gor Mahia walked away with $1 million, while Ingwe pocketed $500,000 shillings. To other matters, Kenya Commercial Bank women's volleyball team are the 2022 African champions after thrashing defending champions Al Ahly of Egypt by 3-1 in the Africa Women's Club Championship final in Kelibia, Tunisia. The newly crowned African queens are expected back home Thursday morning from Tunisia.
Masi Mohim, Sharon Chepchumba, Edith Wisa and Immaculate Nekesa commanded the bankers on slot for points in the win which saw Kenya lead 2-0 before Egyptians took the third set. ACB would respond stronger in the fourth set, which they now only won to end the Kenya's 9-year championship drought. The bankers are the first Kenyan club to win the title since 2013, when Prisons Kenya emerged victorious. Sharon Chepchumba was named the most valuable player, Masi Mohim the best attacker, while Edith Wisa was voted the best blocker. Meanwhile, compatriots Kenya Pipeline bagged bronze after trouncing Carthage of Tunisia in a 5-set thriller. Kenya Pipeline, Prisons Kenya and KCB represented Kenya in the continental showpiece. The newly crowned African queens are expected back home Thursday morning from Kelibia, Tunisia.
Thank you, Mwendo, for that report, and of course, congratulations to KCB volleyball team, that is the women's team. And, well, it has been a bad week for Ahly fans, be it football, after, of course, they were denied the third title by Wydad Casablanca on Monday, losing 2-0. And, of course, now we have the Al Ahly volleyball team, of course, losing to the Kenyan Queens, which is very good news for Kenya, of course. Now, elsewhere, Judah men's volleyball team captain, coach Peter Kimani, says lack of a standard playing ground ground is hindering the growth of the newly formed team that is based in Murera, Juja constituency. Kimani was quick to note that the game plays a crucial role in ensuring the youngsters stay away from crime and drug abuse. Meanwhile, Kimani revealed that plans are underway to form a women's team. The team currently has 15 players and hosts their matches on private land in Juda, Murera, Juja constituency.
Na kama watu ambao wako na umri tukasema tutakuja hapa tusaidiane kwa ule ujuzi kidogo tuko nao ya kucheza huu mchezo wa volleyball, kwa sababu tuliona ya kwamba tusipofanya hivyo vijana wengi wanapotelea huko nje na wanajiingiza kwa madawa na mambo yasiyofaa.
Internationally now, an emotionally charged Hampden Park will host the World Cup playoff semi-final between Scotland and Ukraine tonight. Of course, in a game given global attention by the ongoing Russia's invasion, the carrot for the winners is not only for national pride, but a place in Sunday's final against Wales in Cardiff.
Scotland are aiming to reach their first Men's World Cup in 24 years, while Ukraine are hoping to add to their one appearance in 2006. But their preparation have been disrupted by the ongoing conflict in their homeland, which led to the fixture being delayed from its original date in March. Scotland are without key defender Kieran Tierney as the Arsenal player recovers from knee surgery, while Rangers midfielder Ryan Jack had to withdraw due to a calf injury. Ukraine's home-based players have not been involved in any competitive action since December, as the war began during their winter shutdown. Goalkeeper Andriy Lunin was the last to join the squad after being an unused substitute for Real Madrid in Saturday's 1-0 victory over Liverpool in the Champions League final.
Now, Rafael Nadal demonstrated once again why he is the greatest player in the French Open history by beating longtime rival Novak Djokovic in a late-night thriller to reach the men's singles semi-finals at the Roland Garros.
Rafael Nadal, going for the 14th title, started superbly and fought off resistance from defending champion Novak Djokovic to win 6-2, 4-6, 6-2, 7-6. Nadal secured victory over 4 hours on court.
The feeling about playing in the most important place and the most special place personally in my tennis career and feel the support of all the crowd is just something very difficult to describe.
The 21-time Grand Slam winner now faces third seed Alexander Zverev on Friday. German Zverev reached the semi-finals for the second successive year after surviving the teenage sensation Carlos Alcaraz fight back earlier on Tuesday. For Sports News, I'm Dion Mogire.
Well, that's all the time we had for sports tonight, but just an update. Former Newcastle, West Ham, Southampton manager Alan Pardew, of course, has left Bulgarian side. That is Sofia, of course, after some of the players, the black players, were subjected to racism by, get this, a group of their own fans, a section of their own fans. Of course, that is disgusting in so many ways. Once again, let's work hard together, of course, to kick racism out of football. And of course, for the Man United fans, some good news or bad news, depending on what your stand is. Paul Pogba has confirmed he is going to be leaving Manchester United at the end of this season, at the end of his contract, that is in June. And the club has also confirmed that Jesse Lingard will also be leaving the club, with West Ham United being among his suitors. Oh, that's all the time we had for Sports Tonight. I'm Richard Munga, and I'll be handing you over back to Serfine. Do have a good night.
Thank you so much, Richard Munga, for that. And thank you all of you who created time to catch the latest on Prime Edition tonight. Mary Atieno from Homa Bay County. Great coverage of the Madaraka Day celebrations. Heko Team KBC, thank you. And of course, also Joab Kiprotich from Nandi Hills. You're saying you're watching together with your family. We appreciate your time. Wanyonyi from right here in Nairobi. Happy Madaraka Day. Thank you so much for creating time, Wanyonyi. And thank you all of you who created time and also streamed live on KBC Channel 1. We really appreciate you tonight. That's how we wrap it up right here on Prime Edition on this Madaraka Day special. My name is Serfine Achieng Oma. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Lucy Mwaura. Have a good night and God bless. But don't go too far. Very shortly, the rave will be hitting your screens. That is how you begin your weekend right here on KBC Channel 1. Have a good day.
Narok County generates huge revenue from the world-famous Masai Mara National Reserve and the agricultural sector. Two candidates, Moitalel Olekenta and Patrick Olentutu, are gearing up for the next governor of this county. What is their agenda for Narok? Don't miss the Narok County gubernatorial debate this Thursday, 2nd of June from Masai Mara University, exclusively on KBC Channel 1 from 9:50 p.m. yao wa sita kwenye ukumbi wa Charter Hall, jumba la City Hall jijini Nairobi. Waweza kutuma mchango wako kwa paybill number 247247, nambari ya akaunti 777626. Gibson amekuwa mwanani wako na wangu kwa muda usiopungua miaka 40 sasa. Ni zamu yetu nasi tuwe wandani wake wakati huu mgumu.